We're good. We're connected.
Alrighty, okay, so Cedar Ridge, Iowa's first winery and distillery in Iowa since Prohibition. We do both, but today we're going to be talking about mainly whiskey, and our number one product first up is the bourbon. So this guy here, we've been doing bourbon since 2010. We're coming up on 12 years this year as the Iowa's first corn bourbon whiskey since Prohibition. So that'll be interesting, fun party for us in July. But ours is a super sweet, not super sweet, a super smooth, little sweet, approachable sipping whiskey. As you can see, we've done pretty well with awards. It's made us 2017's best craft distillery across all 50 states. It's got a really clean mash bill. We use Iowa corn because this is Iowa, the largest corn producing state. We get that actually from a family farm. If we don't have enough, we do source local here around in Iowa. So it's all Iowa corn. We do 14% rye, so it does have a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat, but nothing crazy. It's not a high rye or anything like that. And then a little bit of malted barley. Keep this one at 86 proof, 43% alcohol, so it does have just a little bit of heat on it, but still going to be easy to sip neat or on the rocks, or it's really good at the old fashioned that we'll be showing you later here in a little bit. This one is aged for 3 years minimum in brand new charred oak barrels here on Cedar Ridge property. As you guys have ever visited or seen us, you'll see all our barrel sheds out there. We've got lots of bourbon aging as well as other spirits. A little segue in from kind of going this to the Slipknot, but first I'd like to just see or show you guys that you can see that we are the #1 selling bourbon in the state of Iowa in the 750 milliliter category. Big thanks to fans and customers that buy our product over those bigger Kentucky distillery brands. So thank you, everybody. But going from bourbon to Slipknot now, because we distill a lot of different spirits. We do bourbon, rye, wheat, single malt style. We do brandies and rums and gin. So we do a lot. And to do that, Slipknot actually came to us with the idea of doing an all local whiskey, which is really cool. We actually gave them a bunch of samples. The percussionist from the band Clown, you guys have probably seen a lot of this because it's pretty big right now. He sampled a lot of our different products right out of the barrel and at different fruits and stuff like that. Decided he really liked to do a blend. So it's actually 60% of our bourbon aged and 40% of our rye whiskey aged. And then we blend those two together, something that he came up with. So we do have two different offerings, as you can see on the little screen sharing there. One's going to be the #9 small batch Iowa whiskey that we use for the Bluebeard. And then the next one would be the Reserve. The big difference on those two is it's actually the same whiskeys on the inside, but what we do is the small batch one, we water down a little bit more and get to 45% alcohol, so it's 90 proof. And then the Reserve will actually be older whiskey, so 4- and 5-year-old barrels of bourbon and rye, and we do that at 99 proof, so it's a little hotter. Both really good tasting whiskeys.
All right, can you see us again?
I think they can.
Yep, we can.
Okay.
All right. I think with that, we're gonna move right into the cocktail demonstration. Unless you guys have questions first, or you want to wait? No? All right. We can move right into the demonstration. We'll start with the old fashioned, if that's what you were instructed to. I don't know what the instructions are, but we're going to start with that one for our demonstration here.
Yeah, so if you guys actually got two different, and my name's Ashton. I'm just Andrew's assistant for today.
Director of Hospitality here, Ashton. Welcome aboard.
Yes, hello. So we are making two. So one is going to be a little bit easier to sip, the Slipknot that you have. So that's the very dark purple or blueberry cocktail. That one's very fruity and refreshing. But we're going to start out by making our old fashioned, which I would say is classic, but I think a lot of people think that it's only for like the very experienced. It's more boozy. So, but it is a really good way to get into sipping whiskey.
It is, yeah. You know, it's a very easy, basic cocktail. I'll just get right into it. So what we have here is we're gonna use a mixing glass. Normally you can do old fashions right in your own drinking glass, but today we're gonna show you on a different, pour it into over ice. So what we're gonna do is take a king cube first, throw it in there. What I always do is start with your cheaper ingredients. You never want to start with a bourbon in case you mess up. That's your most expensive product going into the drink. So I'm gonna do 2 dashes of bitters there. Came out a little fast, so we'll say that's 2 dashes.
And we use, here at Cedar Ridge, we use an equal mix. You can get Angostura bitters and orange bitters. We actually do a half and half.
So
Mix.
A little bit of bitter with a little bit of orange essence to it with that mixture there that she's explaining. Next up, I will do our simple syrup, and there's quite a few different kinds of simple syrup, and if you come up with your own, you can do a lot of home mixturing. But what we're doing is just turbinado sugar, brown sugar, equal parts. So water 1 cup, sugar 1 cup. Just heat the water up until it's boiling, pour in the sugar, stir it till all the sugar dissolves, and then you come up with simple syrup. So ours is brown because it is brown sugar. And I'm just gonna do about a 1/2 ounce. And our jigger here is one side 1 ounce, the other side is 2 ounces. So I just do half of that.
That does vary by jigger
Mhm.
also, so you can end up with a very strong cocktail or a very weak cocktail, depending on what your jigger size is.
And finishing up with the bourbon, 2 whole ounces there. Get our trusty bar spoon. An old fashioned is always stirred and never shaken, because stirred over ice will dilute it a whole lot less than shaking it with ice chips. We stir it a few times, make sure it's all nice and cold in here. And I guess we didn't get a strainer, did we?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, train from.
That's why he
Finish
brought
off.
me.
That's why she's here. Take it and we'll do another king cube. Glass, pour it over. Like I said, you can always build this in your glass. You don't always need a fancy mixing glass. And to finish, we'll do a little extra orange with the peel. Little squirt there.
Yep, and go around the rim, that's gonna make it extra tasty for you.
And I've already skewered my cherry. We just use Bada Bing cherries. They're much darker than maraschino. Kind of gives it a little bit of deeper flavor. Half the price is one of those cherries.
Oh, Luxardo
Luxardo
cherries.
cherries. They're
Yes.
really expensive. But after that, it is ready to sip. So that is a old fashioned here.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, so all of your cocktails have actually been made, so you can just pour them straight over ice. So, and then you got your garnishes as well.
So next up, Ashton is going to be showing us how to do the blue beer.
Yes. Yeah. Little bit different method here. This is actually, we're going to be shaking this cocktail. Reason being is that by shaking it, you can incorporate all the ingredients, but also if you're working with anything like lime or lemon juice, it incorporates that actually into your spirit, and it's also a higher dilution rate. So like you could do a martini 2 different ways. You could shake it or stir it. Shaken is just going to give you a higher dilution than a stirred cocktail. So like Andrew said, we're always going to start with our mixers. So that way we're not wasting any good booze. And first is lemon.
So first up, yeah, like Ashton said, lemon. We're doing a 1/2 ounce of lemon. There's a lot of juice in this one. We'll do a 1/2 ounce of lime juice. Next, our simple syrup, another 1/2 ounce there. This is actually a cinnamon simple. So what we did is a 1-to-1 ratio with just regular white sugar. Heat that up and let it dissolve. And then while it was steeping, because it's going to be hot, we threw in whole raw cinnamon sticks and let them just absorb that cinnamon flavor. So it's not super heavy of cinnamon.
Is it 24 hours?
For 24 hours, yeah, we let it steep overnight. Next up, we've got 1.5 ounce of blueberry puree, basically. It's more like a blueberry simple. What we do is heat up a pot with blueberries, excuse me, raw blueberries, throw them in, more cinnamon, a little bit of lime juice. So there's a lot of flavors in this one, but blueberry is going to be the main one. Blast up 2 whole ounces of Slipknot number 9, and then we're ready for some shaking.
So shaking, I learned this when I exploded a cocktail for myself. You actually want to put that, this is a
Boston style shaker.
Boston style shaker. You can also use your shaker that already has the lid and already has the again, your cocktails have already gone through this process, so you can literally pour them straight over ice. But you're gonna flip it over and then you're gonna shake. And really, you just want it until your
hands start to get
till your
cold.
hands start to get really cold. Feels good.
A lot of times you want the smaller piece going back because there are tendencies for it to pop off, or sometimes we've had here at Cedar Ridge the glass bust out the bottom for some reasons. Either it's hot glass coming out of the dishwasher and going into an ice cold shaker, but you always want that to the back, because if you're on the back shake, it'll explode out the back and not all over your bar.
Or all over you, which has happened.
Or the customer.
So we've filled our cocktail glass with just chip ice. I like it very iced. I think honestly, my biggest belief in cocktails is that people under ice like their drinks like this. You want a lot of ice so it stays nice and cold. And then you're gonna put your little strainer right over your shaker tin, and you're gonna pour it into your glass. Then with your garnishes, you can then put your little lemon wheel over the top. And we're gonna finish ours with some fresh blueberries as well. And so really the way to elevate any drink at any party is just by putting some fun garnishes on it. It's gonna make people, yes, bright, colorful. It's gonna make people go ooh and ah for your drink. So that's a cocktail hack for you. And that's the Bluebeard. Yes, that's made with our Slipknot number 9 whiskey. Do we have any questions, you guys? Hello.
I don't have any questions. It was hard to get my Bluebeard open though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We made sure there was no possibility of it spilling in the car at home.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, as I had 5, or, what did I have? 54 bottles of whiskey, and
yeah, those little tiny bottles are definitely fun, but they can be a trick to get open for sure.
The Manhattan was delicious. It's the best one I've ever had.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, we definitely pride ourselves on being able to make a really good old fashioned with our bourbon.
Or old fashioned, excuse me.
No, you're good. And I mean,
It makes a really good bourbon Manhattan too as well.
Yeah, you can make a bourbon Manhattan and you can make a rye old fashioned. So that's the cool thing about those classics, is you can swap them out.
With our mash bill being 74% corn, it's going to be a little sweeter than most. Not so much, or not so heavy on the rye. There's not going to be a whole lot of spice. So it's a really versatile whiskey. It's really good for sipping, on an ice cube, letting it mellow out even more, watering it down, drinking it neat. It's good for bourbon and cokes, old fashions, really high-end cocktails, or your cheap bourbon and cokes, or it's a nice shooting whiskey as well.
So if we were going to have a party and have 50 of our closest friends, and we're not experienced bartenders, is downside to prepping like you guys did, just so you kind of have it ready? Or is there, not on the ice, but just have the old-fashioned pre-mixed? Is that going to be noticeable for most people?
We have definitely done batched old fashions. Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps, always just leaving ice out, but getting a big jug. And basically it's, the way we do it is a 2-ounce whiskey to a 1/2 ounce simple syrup to just a couple dashes. You can always do the ratio of leaving out the bitters and adding that, so you have a batched whiskey and simple syrup mixture, because that's easier, 2 and a half or 2 to a half. That's easier to batch out, and then just each glass, just do a dash of bitters, throw in ice, and then you have your jug of old fashioned and just top off.
So we could use like a Gatorade thing if we wanted to, like a big.
Definitely.
Good to know.
Yeah, batch cocktails are definitely something that's getting bigger. Honestly, for our like pairing dinners that we do out here, we 9 times out of 10, we're batching all of that. And then whether it's all the booze is in a container and we just put it over ice and shake it really fast, like Andrew said, the dilution is the part where it gets a little tricky. So we usually put everything in a container, shake it, or pour it straight into an ice glass, just like I did out of my strainer. And it makes it way quicker for you also.
How long will a
This
batch
is
drink
going-
last?
Oh,
What's that?
How long will a batch drink last like that?
So for distilleries, for bars, you can technically only keep a batch drink for 72 hours. I would say the biggest thing with a batch drink is like those flavors do start to like meld a little bit. I know that I've made them for like parties that I've had at my house, and usually by about the 4th or 5th day, you're like, oh, this isn't peak anymore. But really after that 72 hours, it just starts to downgrade. The fresher your ingredients, the more things will start to turn, if you will, so.
Usually simple syrups, they say, last like 2 days, and then going in and out of cold to warm, they can start growing inside. But if you had like a simple syrup with the alcohol in there, vodka is sometimes used to like help slow down. So like some bitters and
the spouse.
other things are going to be used of alcohol with other ingredients, herbs and stuff. And bitters last for a long time. So something like that, when you add vodka or bourbon or anything like that to a mixture, it'll kind of help keep it last just a few days longer. So that's kind of their guideline of 72 hours with alcohol in it.
So does anybody here have any batches that last more than 72 hours?
Like I said, I'm not saying that I have never done it before.
We may have to have a batch and try it every
Yeah.
day.
My husband and I have definitely been drinking batched old fashioned days after a party, but on the restaurant side of things, that is typically frowned upon.
What is your guys' preference for bitters?
We use a lot of bitters. We both looked at each other like, ooh.
Mine personally, Cedar Ridge, we don't have a bottle up right here in our room that we're doing this. We also do a port cask finish, so it ages 3 years in a new charred oak barrel. And like I said, we're also a winery, so we'll dump out our American port, which is our dessert wine, and then dump our bourbon into that for a whole year. So technically it's a finished whiskey at that point, no longer a bourbon, but it's still a bourbon whiskey. So that one's got some nice, red stone fruit, red wine flavors added to it. We do that one at 47% alcohol, so it's got a little extra spice too as well. But port wine is really good with chocolatey desserts because it's dessert wine. So we have Aztec chocolate bitters that we add to it. So when I make an old fashioned, I do chocolate bitters, port cask bourbon, and Demerara simple, still with an orange and a cherry.
But yeah, I mean, if you go to like Ben's Beverage Depot and Cedar Rapids or really any specialty liquor store, they have, and you see like all of their bitters. It is really fun to play with all of those. I highly recommend it. The beauty of working at a bar is that you can do that for free and you don't have to like buy all the bottles. The one thing that I will say about like our old fashioned especially is some places will just use like Angostura bitters, which have like the white paper on the outside and the yellow top. And that's a very classic bitter. I do, in my old fashioned, I really like having half orange bitters, half Angostura bitters, because it gives some of that extra orange essence. And I do truly think that I can taste the difference. But other than that, I mean, I think peach bitters are really awesome. If you throw some like peach bitters into a bourbon iced tea, it's like so good.
Now, if we come up to visit you at the Cedar Ridge, do you have like little flights where you can sample some different, like an old fashioned and I have to admit, this blueberry thing is really good. A little on the sweet side, but it's really good.
Yeah.
The old fashioned was tolerable. I'm not a whiskey bourbon drinker or rye drinker.
Yeah.
So do you have like where you could sample different things like you do your wines?
So
our sampling, with everything going on, we do 4 samples. So we make as much as we can here, and you're able to try up to 4 of any of those things. So that could be all wine or any of our spirits. So it could be our rum, gin, vodka, whiskeys, single malt, any of those. But no flights like at a brewery where you could sample beers. We can't do like cocktails or anything like that.
yeah, so not cocktail flights, but you can try the spirit before you buy it.
Okay. Now, do you sell the cocktails if you bought a whole cocktail?
Yeah, so we sell, anything, both the cocktails that you're drinking right now, you can come out here and buy. They're a signature cocktail is what we call it. But we also do a specials menu that rotates very seasonally. So if you do follow us on like any social media, we'll post cocktail videos. Any of those cocktail highlights that you see on our social media can also be seen on our specials menu. So the 2 that you have here are all the time, but highly recommend coming out and getting a cocktail. And that's really where our bartenders, I know Andrew's had some cocktails on there. Kind of everybody has a little bit of room to play. So, and also as Carol is highlighting for us, you can take any of those cocktails to go too. We put it in a bottle for you. You can take it home.
Okay.
It looks like we have a question from the chat. It says, do you make shrubs for cocktails?
No, when I first started here in 2017, our Bluebeard has gone through a couple different recipes and we finally settled on one. The very original recipe was
It had blueberry puree, shrub.
It was a shrub.
It was a muscadine shrub that we actually purchased. So we didn't make it. And then it had ginger beer. It was actually created by our bar manager, who then was our tasting room manager. And he actually named this cocktail, and we've kept the name just because everybody loves this cocktail when they come out. But it's gone through some changes, like Andrew said, and how we prepare the blueberry and what we use. But we don't use any shrubs anymore. I will say that the one thing that is different about Cedar Ridge is that as a distillery, we can't use anything but like a handful of products, bitters being one of them, that's not distilled here. So like we can't use, if you're familiar, like triple sec or Saint Germain or any of those like liqueurs, if you will. So we have to make it all here. So like our blueberry syrup, we make that all in a pot on the stove, fresh right here. The shrub, since it's actually a vinegar, we can use that, but anything alcoholic, we can't use with the exception of vermouth and bitters. So that is something that's a little bit different with distilleries. Same thing, we can't use anything that we don't make here as far as alcohol. So like if you come to Cedar Ridge, you will not be able to order a margarita because we do not make tequila.
What are each of your favorite cocktails?
Mine is the old fashioned. That's the one I drink the most. Probably second favorite would be a margarita.
Overall or at Cedar Ridge?
Both.
Oh, okay. Oh man, this is really
Or what would you get if you're out on the night?
If I'm out on the town, I really like a whiskey sour. again, it's one of those classic cocktails. I will say it is far different if you go someplace and they're using sour mix. So if you're obviously at a place where they could make you a really nice whiskey sour, by all means, go for that. But if they have a big plastic jug that you can see, don't, you can still get it. I have, but I wouldn't recommend it. And then, yeah, I mean, an old fashioned is really classic. I love that. I think we like that by default because we work here at Cedar Ridge. Here at Cedar Ridge, I do have a bourbon cocktail that I love that's called Ocean Eyes. And it's made with pineapple juice, which you would not think is amazing with bourbon, but it really is. And it has chai simple syrup. It's garnished with a little bit of mint, and it's kind of the perfect way to end a long day, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Here at Cedar Ridge, your favorite is the old fashioned?
The old fashioned. It's hard to mess up an old fashioned unless you do like 5 to 6 shakes of bitters. Then it's just too bitter, and then you can't really taste the alcohol or the bourbon that you're using. So, or you can go the opposite and do like a full ounce of simple syrup, and then it's way too sweet. But it's kind of hard to really mess that one up.
Ooh, wait, I rescind mine. So I created something that is called a Vermont sour. So if anybody has heard of actually I didn't create it. Our tasting room manager, Emily, did to-go cocktails for Christmas. And it's a whiskey sour, but you sub the simple syrup with maple syrup, Vermont. So basically, yeah, we just do bourbon, maple syrup, lemon juice, shake that, pour it over a king cube if you want it over ice, or in a fancy coupe glass, and it's really, really good. Oh.
So is tequila something you guys are thinking about distilling there, or is that something that you?
No, no. We really our focus is that we do grow a lot of corn in Iowa. And honestly, I need to look this up, but I'm not sure something can be called tequila unless it's made in a certain area of Mexico, because I actually got a bottle of it's called agave spirit that was made in Kansas City out of agave, and I assume by a very similar process, except they're not actually harvesting the agave. And so, no, I don't think tequila is ever something we would get into. But apart from that, our portfolio, we have just about everything. We make vodka, rum, gin, brandies.
American single malt, which we follow all the same rules and guidelines that Scotland makes Scotch. So the only reason we can't call it that because we're not in Scotland, but it's basically the same thing as Scotch, but we have to call it American single malt.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good segue actually, Andrew. A big misconception about bourbon is that it can only be made in Kentucky. It is very wrong. So it does not have to be made in Kentucky. It just has to be made in America. So if somebody in Scotland made the same exact whiskey with the same exact mash bill as us, they could not call it bourbon because they're not in America. So basically Kentucky got very popular for making bourbon because of the river, right?
The limestone water that they use there.
Yeah, so a bunch of distilleries started popping up, and the reason that Cedar Ridge started, or part of it at least, was because our owner Jeff Quinn said we're in corn country. We make, what is it, like 90% of the corn in America, and so why would we be paying these other states so we can drink bourbon here? And so that's how Cedar Ridge bourbon started. And actually, you probably saw it on Andrew's slide about being the #1 selling bourbon in Iowa. Our slogan for that was "Sorry, Kentucky." So the best bourbon comes from the best corn. Sorry, Kentucky is the full slogan. But yeah, there's a lot of myths that go along with bourbon. But just like Andrew said, we do the same thing with our American single malt as they do in Scotland. We just can't call it a Scotch. because we're not in Scotland.
This is completely unrelated to bourbon or whiskey or Cedar Ridge, but as I'm seeing like a bunch of the people that are on this Zoom, I just realized all of a sudden how much I miss networking with all of you, because like I have questions that I would be asking Phoebe, and Barb, I would be asking you about kitchen questions, and GT, we just always go off on a tangent. And I just miss all of you guys. So Lorraine, I'd be asking you about real estate, like, oh, what's going on? Who's, what's going over list? That's crazy. And I just miss all of you guys. Anyways.
Same here, Sandy, and I saw your little thing of tractors. Would you be interested in some little construction, die-cast construction equipment?
I know, because the collection that I have, the collection of tractors, and sometime you can stop by MMS and see it. These specific tractors were my dad's, and they were the ones that he played with when he was a kid. So because of what I do in civil engineering, it seemed appropriate that of all the kids, of all the girls, because that's all there is girls, that I get the ones that, the tractors that move dirt. And he even built a well rig. So sometime, any of you guys want to stop down to MMS sometime, once all this crap gets over, you'll see my office and see all the tractors. Apparently they're worth, I guess some of them are pretty valuable because there's a crane and everything. So
Yeah. Well, I love seeing you when you posted those, so I thought that was touched my heart. I have some miniature tractors that were the same model of my dad's tractors. They're old, but they're replicas of the tractors he had. So
yeah.
So as we were talking about the other grains that or the other drinks that you make, and Sandy, we miss you too, and we miss everybody getting together in person. And so we will be getting together in person. And so as Sandy and I discussed earlier, she's not a whiskey drinker. I'm not either, but I'll tell you what, I enjoyed the old fashioned and the Bluebeard. I thought they were very good, and I was very surprised that I did. But if we were to do like an in-person tasting, do you do like different rum cocktails where we could do, or is that?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a really great segue. We are doing an in-person event right now that's we're doing cocktail classes. Now it's all socially distanced. We ask basically people if the week of the event, hey, did you buy tickets with people that you want to sit with? So we can kind of group you together into like little pods, if you will. But in April, we're going to be releasing a cocktail class that is, did you say rum? Yeah, so we're gonna be doing rum, and it's gonna have kind of like a tiki theme. So a lot of cocktails that are gonna get you ready for spring and warmer weather ahead. So definitely keep your eyes on that. Space is pretty limited. We do 25 people per class, but our tasting room manager and then our events manager, so Emily, who's our tasting room manager, and Jessica, who's our events manager, they've kind of teamed up, both very knowledgeable bartenders, and they lead those classes, and they're really fun. They give you a little light snack, and they walk you through a little history and a little cocktail making, and it's just a really fun night.
So one of the things that I miss so bad is going to Cedar Ridge for the live music and dancing outside and having fun.
Yeah.
Also, my favorite summer drink is gin and tonic, and your gin is amazing. It's very good.
Our gin is very good.
Our gin is super pine tree like, because we use less juniper. We do a lot more cucumber and orange peel, coriander and orris root, and then a little bit of juniper, because gin has to be at least some percentage of juniper. I believe I'm not certain on the number or anything like that, but You know, compared to others, ours doesn't taste like a forest of pine trees. It's more citrus, so it pairs well with lots of different types of tonics, which I know Fever Tree does a lot of different kinds that are really good and pair really well with ours. And then to make a really good cocktail, we have the Last Ride, which is gin, lemon juice, aquafaba, which is a vegan substitute for an egg white to make a frothy drink. So we use that. Basically, it's just garbanzo bean juice from a can to make aquafaba.
Yeah. That's my favorite way to make sours now, because I'm not a huge egg white person. I don't like being able to like taste it in my drink towards the end. So yeah, it's just take a can of chickpeas and drain the juice off of it and use it. It's the equal part to lemon juice, right? Or to any citrus.
Add it to just a little bit, even
Yeah.
any sort of citrus, and it will react when it's shaken. It'll create a lot of air bubbles and make it nice and frothy. So like doing a whiskey sour and doing a New York sour with the red wine float on top, it'll help keep the red wine on top of the drink to do that nice red float of wine.
And who the hell would ever think to put that together?
Great British Baking Show. Seriously. And our
I'm talking like 30 years ago. How would
Oh, yeah,
let's do
definitely.
this?
Those soggy bottoms.
yeah, our tasting room administrator, she actually brought that up, and you know, we were trying to use the egg whites in drinks, and she was like, we can use aquafaba, and we're all like, what is that? And so she was like, oh, it's just chickpeas. So yeah, we use chickpea juice to make our drinks nice and frothy.
Do you guys ever use kombucha for a mixed drink?
We've actually had it on tap at weddings before.
We've played around with making cocktails with it, but we've never done anything open to the public. We realized that having it on tap here, it would mostly get drank by the staff.
Our staff really likes kombucha.
Instead of, you know, actually selling it, so
Yeah.
I think we steered away from that. But we might revisit that.
Between kombucha and cold brew, our staff might be keeping the net worth of both of those items in the upper.
So how long will these little bottles that you gave, how long will they keep?
Yeah, so we made all those fresh yesterday. So they
Okay.
can be picked up for today's event. So again, 72 hours for a cocktail is kind of a rule of thumb. So those should last Wednesday, till about Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm telling you, Sandy, to try them. You will enjoy them. I'm not a whiskey drinker, but
I have to drive somewhere after this.
okay.
So that's why I'm not. I'm sorry, but I'm drinking Coke and ice. I have them, I will drink them. But I have a very, very low tolerance, and yeah, like one glass of wine and it's like, whoa. That being said, I'm gonna head out, you guys. I miss all of you so much. I'd love to hear if anybody has, what's the lowest interest rate somebody's gotten on a home loan, because I've been hearing some crazy shit. So, but yeah, just email me with the lowest.
2%, Sandy,
Are you serious?
on a 15-year. Yeah.
15. I was just gonna ask what a 15-year is.
It's not there now. It was. So you might have missed the boat. It's closer, up to 2.5 now.
You'll give me 2%, right, Melissa?
I will
Hey,
give you the
I've got
best
an
rate I
800
possibly
credit
can.
score.
I don't know
Oh.
what they are right now. That was about a month ago.
Oh. Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys all later.
Bye, Sandy.
Hi, Sandy.
So any other questions for Ashton and Andrew?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Are
thank you.
you
Thanks,
are you
guys.
currently open?
Thank you.
What's
Sorry.
that?
Are you currently open for
We
business?
are. Yeah,
And
so
what-
we actually, post-COVID, we opened the first day that we could open back up. So it's been since
May 15th.
May 15th, 2020, we opened back up to the public, and we've been open ever since. The good news for you, I know you said you like live music. So we started doing that about a month after we opened back up. So we kind of started small with like individuals, just like solo artists, and then we've just kind of built it up ever since then. So we are planning on having our Bourbon and Blues Fest again this year, which is also a really great event. And yeah, we'll be doing everything as we kind of did last year. We're ramping up for another busy season, but obviously trying to keep everybody safe and socially distant. And you know, we still love it when people wear masks in the door. We're also wearing masks, so keeping it really safe for people.
Are they required? Are you asking like we're being really careful and very safe? And so how would we feel going in, do you think? Are most people wearing masks or no?
You know, I would say 90% of people are wearing masks in the door, and you know, that another 5%, we're like, as long as we can, we're catching people as they walk in the door. We still have signs posted that say masks are required to enter. We did just start our brunch buffet back up again. We're requiring masks through the buffet, which kind of, you know, lends itself to, again, like people are wearing masks in the door. All of our events that we've done, all of our pairing events, we've told people, you know, you have to wear masks on your way in. So, you know, sometimes people don't see the sign, but, but, you know, I would say, a lot of our customers that have come, you know, continue coming back, you know, I'll say, we're really glad that you guys are keeping with this. You know, we're glad that you guys can make us feel safe. We also switched our style of service to tableside service, which our whole entire team was really big on, and it was, you know, the governor gave us about a week and a half, 2 weeks to change everything and be ready to open back up, and our team hit it head on and said, let's go to tableside so we don't have a bunch of people standing at the bar ordering. And we did that, and we're actually keeping it. So definitely come out and see us, and we'll show you a good time. And you know, our goal is to always make everybody feel safe. Again, we're all wearing masks, and I would say we'll continue to do so for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
Yeah, we had an event there in October. So I think almost everyone that's on here was at our holiday party there when we had the dueling pianos and we were in the far back area. And then I've had 2 Build Pack events there in the room that Ashton and Andrew are at right now. And one of them was in October. And I was kind of worried, but everyone was wearing a mask and they could take their mask off when they got into that room, and they sat together in groups of who they were comfortable being with. And it was very good. And then Scott Chamberlain is on here, and he's put in that he's been there several times and had an awesome experience. 100% of the customers have worn masks, and he's always felt safe.
Well, good. Yeah, we're trying to do our part to make everybody wanna stay coming out, because we realized during quarantine that we really like seeing everybody. Yeah. We missed everybody for sure.
With that, then I'll turn it back over to Brogan and Grace.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew and Ashton. That was awesome. I feel we learned a lot. I hope everybody had fun. I know I did. And thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, Grace. I just wanted to give a shout out to you and Brogan and Carol. Thank you guys and everybody at Cedar Ridge. This was awesome. And I know you guys did a ton of work. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, Ashton and Andrew, for taking your time tonight to show us these awesome drinks and answer all of our questions. And thank you, GT and Tuples, for sponsoring us tonight. And then just a quick reminder that scholarship applications can be found on the HBA website, and they're due to the HBA office by April 16th.
TT?
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we're gonna sign off. Thank you all so much, and come out and see us at Cedar Ridge.
Definitely will.
Thank you.
again. And before everyone else leaves, we've got an event on April 15th. It's our next development update at 4 p.m. It'll be virtual, it'll be on Zoom. That'll be Johnson County. Kelowna will be talking about their new development that they have going on. And then Sandy Style with MMS is going to talk about the new development outside of Solon during that meeting. And then we are hoping to plan an in-person event in May. I'm going to stop recording this real quick.